Hello everyone, my name is Ibrahim and I'm the founder of dataset. So in this video, I want to explore the OList dataset, which is a really popular dataset for data analysis. And to make things much more interactive, I went ahead to create like a problem brief, just to simulate a real business scenario. And what the problem brief is based off of is just basically deals with revenue leak. So I came up with like a fictional company name called Zest Market Africa, and this company is just like a major e-commerce company in the Latin America region, and basically, as they're trying to expand to different locations. But before they do that, they realize that their profit margins are thinning and their logistics costs are fluctuating. And before they scale into different locations, they need to kind of like look into it deeper, like what could be causing this, revenue leak and what is bleeding money. So here's our objective. So we're basically just acting like a strategic consultant. So our goal is to identify the smoking gun, and by smoking gun, what I mean is just like what could be causing this revenue leak. It could be various factors, so whatever factors that is, we need to find a way to like find that. So after that, we need to propose a 3-month recovery roadmap. So here are some questions analysis must answer. So we're looking at, well, are we losing our margins to freight cost? And by freight cost, I just mean cost of transporting goods. And which regions are the most expensive to serve? Also, we're looking at the delivery gap. So, how does the delivery time impact customer satisfaction and review scores? And lastly, the so what. So what are the top 3 strategic moves the CEO should authorize on a Monday morning? So, this video is going to be a really valuable video. You're going to learn how to, think like an analyst, which is very important because it's not only about building dashboards. A lot of things can assist you with that and make things much more easier. Even in this video, my aim is to show you like an easier way to perform data analysis in AI. And the tool we're going to be using is Power BI. And Power BI has some AI functionalities that you can utilize, make analysis much more easier. But before you use those AI features, what matters is your data model. You're also going to learn how to create like a great data model that doesn't break. So if your data model is good, your analysis is going to be much more easier to perform, and you can utilize all these fancy AI functionalities. So without further ado, let's just get right into it. So here's like my plan, right? My plan. Now I just need to find a way to determine what could be causing this. So I went ahead to create like a presentation sharing various factors that could be causing this revenue leak. So here's the presentation right here. The oldest revenue leak. So we're just looking at a practical real world example. So one of the suspects that I think could be causing this revenue leak is logistics and customer trust. Most customers expect like a fast delivery. So mostly when they find out that the delivery is taking longer than usual, I feel like it could cause them to cancel. And this could really affect profit and revenue. So here's like an example. If a delivery in Brazil takes like 20 days instead of the estimated 10 days, the customer will cancel. There's just That's just the fact. The customer are going to cancel, and that will affect like the revenue. So now what we're trying to check is that are late deliveries leading to churn? So this churn thing is like something that you really need to master. It's something that a lot of businesses deal with and face. So it's really popular. It's a popular real world scenario that we're going to explore in this episode. So, next, another suspect that I feel like could be causing this is the seller integrity. And by this, like on a marketplace like Honest, like one bad seller, perhaps maybe the delivery that was being shipped, the product in that delivery is not that good. Perhaps it's broken or something, that can really affect customer satisfaction. So here's like a real world check. That's something we're trying to look at. Is this like a platform wide issue, or are there 50 bad sellers responsible for 80% of our refunds? So, and once we are able to determine this, like perhaps there's one particular one or a few bad sellers on the platform, and the solution is pretty easy, right? The solution is just to, fire them, or lay off them. So it's that easy. So the next thing, another suspect, I feel like this is the last suspect that I'm going to be analyzing, is the freight gap. Now, Brazil is massive. The Latin American region is massive. So shipping a package from a particular location to like a far away location, it could really affect the shipping rate. And there's like a particular amount that you can charge customers for shipping. If the shipping is too high, that could affect the order. They could cancel their order. So we can't charge them too much. And for some reason, it's really fascinating because that also affects the business. Because, for, for example, if we charge $10 for shipping, but the logistics provider bills us like $18. So we're losing like $8. And that can really pile up, over time. All this extra revenue that we're losing out on. And that could be like a hidden killer of our margins. So these are the three suspects that I want to like analyze, which is logistics, seller integrity, and the freight gap. So here's like, hey, let's connect the dots a little bit. So the oldest data set comes with like a lot of tables. Well, usually I feel like we only need a few. We only need like the orders table, sellers, and reviews. So we're going to try to connect these tables together. So by doing this, it'll allow us to like answer the questions much more easily. So here's like the stack we're going to be using. We're going to be using Power Query to clean up the data and transform the data. We're going to be using DAX to create some measures and scatter plots. And I forgot to include, we're also going to be using some AI functionalities to make it easier for us to perform our analysis. So what? So here's the outcome. Here's what we're trying to do, the real big deal. So we're trying to recover lost revenue. You know, and to do this, the way we're going to do this is that once we're able to find the problem, we're just trying to find a way to like minimize it and to solve it. So by solving that problem, we'll be able to recover the lost revenue. And lastly, we're trying to optimize the shipping logic. So perhaps, like I mentioned earlier, the shipping cost can be huge. So we're trying to just come at like a balance. The solution that we're probably going to come up with, we have to do with perhaps increasing the price or finding like a logistic provider that's much more cheaper, you know, whatever that is. We're just going to find a way to like come to like a balance and also improve seller standard. We need to hire better sellers. We cannot be delivering like bad or broken product to customers, because that can affect customer satisfaction. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Here's the plan that we're going to be following. So the next thing that I'm going to do now is that I'm going to hop into Power BI and load in our tables and connect them together. And after that, we can get into the fun part and start performing our analysis. All right, so let's move on. So I went ahead to load the data set, to not waste time. So I went ahead and loaded all the 9 tables. And also I created like a date table. And why I did that is just to make us perform much more granular time series analysis. I also created like some measures that could be helpful for us, uh, like the average delivery days, and how long it takes to deliver an order, the average review score. This could be really helpful for us to determine the customer satisfaction, the profits and profit margin percentage. This is also going to be really helpful. The total freight and the total revenue. So these are the measures I created. And I could include that in the description, perhaps if you want to get access to it. So what I want to do now, I want to do 2 things. First, I will need to go to Power Query to see if the data is correct and to see some cleaning we can do. And next, I want to go to Model View to see if our tables are connected properly. So now, if I go to Transform Data, I guess there are a lot of things you can check for, but to keep this analysis faster, I'm just gonna check for like the essential thing. And perhaps if I start my analysis and I encounter some errors along the way, I can make changes as I go. So first, the first thing I want to check for is of course for empty values. I don't want to see any empty values in the data set, especially in some valuable columns like customer states, customer city. It wouldn't be helpful to have like empty columns. And luckily, Power BI helps with this using column. If once you like turn on, column profile and column quality, it's going to show you like some couple insights that could help with this. So as you can see here, we don't have any empty values in most of our data. We could always cross check for all the tables, but honestly, since we're dealing with Argo data sets, you're barely going to encounter like empty values. So the next thing I want to check for is I want to check if the data type is correct. So for example, for some date columns and tables, the order purchase time stamp, I need to cross check if the data type is correct. And as you can see, Power Query is pretty smart to determine all these things, and you can see it's giving us the appropriate data type. I guess we're good on that. And the next thing I want to check for is uh the data type for, I don't know, price and the freight value. I think that could also help. And where could I find this? I guess it should be in the order items. I think. Let me check real quick. Okay, yeah, the price is an integer or decimal, just like I expected. And the freight value is also correct. So also perfect. So I guess the last thing I need to check that could be helpful is in the review. I need to check the review score. Plus, I need to make sure it's in the correct data type. And I also want to make sure that we don't have any like incorrect values. We're only tracking on the scale of 1 to 5. So if I find anything that's way above 5 or like a negative value, that is probably an error. And based on what I'm looking at here, in integer, which is correct, and also um, I'm just going to try to scroll down to look at the first few data. And as I keep scrolling down, I can't really see any, you know, value that didn't belong there. So I guess good on this also. So I think we're pretty much good. I guess one thing we can do is to delete some columns we don't need, like zip code prefix. We probably don't need that. But for now, I'm just going to keep it because it doesn't affect my analysis in any way. So I'm just going to keep everything as is. So now I'm just going to close and apply this. And now the next thing I want to check is the model view. I need to see if the tables are all connected appropriately. And the cool thing about Power BI also is that it does this automatically for you, so you don't have anything to worry about. But it's also worth checking, see if it did a good job. And based on what I'm seeing here, the customers data set is connecting to the. Let me zoom this in real quick just to see. So the customers data set is connecting to the orders data sets using the one-to-many relationship based on what I'm seeing, which is correct. Also, the order, let's see all the tables the orders data set is connected to. It's connected to the customers, connected to what else? It's connected to various things. It should be connected to the, let me check this one. This one is connected to the orders payments data sets. And I'm just gonna assume that everything is okay here. And the only thing I'm going to check here is the date table that I created. Okay, I can see one that's not properly connected. That's just playing around on the side here. And the date table too is not properly connected. So I'm just going to check to see where we can connect this to the product category. So let me find, I guess we can connect it to the product because they have similar columns. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that right now. Just gonna drag and drop this over here. And I'm just going to keep the relationship as is. I'm just going to save this. All right, so next I need to connect the date table, and I don't need to connect the measures table. It doesn't have to do anything. So the date table, I'm just going to find a table I can connect it to. And let me check the orders to see if it could be connected. So I guess we can only connect it to like the date columns. I'm just going to find a table that has dates in it and just, just go with it. I think the only ideal place to connect these two is the orders because I mostly want to filter uh by orders. And I want to filter it by when things was ordered and all that. So I guess I'm just gonna find like a date column over here and connect it to that. Okay, so I think I'm just gonna connect it to this for now. I don't know, one to many, whatever. So it should work for now to see how it goes. So let me just save this. Okay, I guess we can work with this. We can work with this. So now I'm just gonna assume that that our data model is correct. So now we can move on to the fun parts, which is the analysis. And to do that, I want to introduce you guys to like a cool feature, one of my favorite feature of Power BI, that helps you speed run your analysis using AI functionality. And that feature is called the key influencers, the key influencers visual. And what it basically does is he tries to find what influences something to happen. And to explain this, I'm just going to use like an example. I'm just going to go ahead and start our analysis to explain this much more better. So what I want to track with this is the profit margin. I'm just going to click on this and put this in the analyze pane. But what I want to know is that what influences profit margin to increase and decrease. There are various factors we can look at. For example, it might be the customer location, perhaps where they are based could influence whether profit is increasing or decreasing. What I can do is that I can include all those factors into this explain by. So first, I'm just going to go ahead and add the customer location. Let me just drop this real quick. I think that should be in the customer's data set. So I'm just going to add the customer state. And let me just close this up, make this a little bit more bigger. We could also add what could also influence this. I guess the price could also influence, you know, the profit. So I'm just going to go ahead and add that. And I think that should be in the order items table. I'm just going to add price, and I don't want it to aggregate it. I just want it to be, and so it's running our analysis. As you can see, let me just adjust this real quick before I start explaining. I don't want it to summarize. So let's just try these two factors for now. And before I add more factors, I don't want it to suggest any visual. So what you're seeing here, let me just zoom this in real quick to be able to explain better. So let me zoom it out a little bit. Okay, so what you're seeing here, what influences profit margin percentage to increase? So, and now we're looking when we're seeing when price is more than this amount, you can see that profit margin is also increasing in some way. So in some way, uh, price definitely influences our profit margin. And once we uh, try to drill down a little bit more, looking at this chart that it has created, we can see here that profit margin percentage is more likely to increase when price is more than this, when price is more than this amount, right? So it's using the AI features to determine like what causes it to increase. And the cool thing about this is you can also adjust this, like what causes it to decrease. You know, what causes our profit margin to decrease. And now we can see here that when price is $31 or less, that causes a profit margin to decrease, which is pretty reasonable, you know, because of course, the higher the price, higher the profit. It's just pretty reasonable, right? And the lower the price, the lower the profit. So I'm just going to assume that is correct. And now we can add other factors, as much factors and and the next factor I want to add here is the product, of course. You know, perhaps there's like a particular product that causes our profits to increase. So I'm just going to go ahead and add that with page one in the analysis. And here we're seeing other factors here. So we're seeing here that when the product category name is electronic, the profit margin is increasing, which means this product category causes a profit margin to increase. So a recommendation that you can make is that perhaps we should try to market the electronics segment way more. Once we can drill down to any of this, you know, to see much more explanation, right? Once you look at this, we're saying that profit margin is more likely to okay, we're looking at decreasing actually. Let me look at increase first. I made a mistake. Let me look at increase. I want to see what causes it to increase. Perhaps there's a particular product category. Okay, so I made a mistake. So when the product category is watches or gifts, our profit margin is increasing. So perhaps the business might want to like focus their marketing efforts on this product category, right? Then you can also look at what causes it to decrease. So let me add like more factors, like perhaps I don't know the freight cost, right? Let me just add that. So I went ahead to add like the freight value, the delivery days, and the seller state. So these are all I want to track by to see if it influences, you know, the profit margin. And based on everything that I'm seeing over here, I can see here that the customer state, which is SP, that definitely influences the profit margin, which means this location is probably nearer. That's like the assumption I'm going to make of that. And seller states, this particular seller state also influences profit margin to increase. So we managed to get like a lot of insights over here. So the last thing I want to do in this video is that I want to try to validate these insights if they are correct before I wrap up this video. Uh, and to do that, what I can do is that I can just create like perhaps I could track the profit margin by the customer location by the customer states, and if it says SP, it means it's correct, right? And yeah, what I'm seeing here, it seems it's pretty much correct. So it says SP over here, which shows me that the AI visuals are correct. So there are so many things I could go through in this video, but to not make this video too long, I think I'm just gonna go ahead and wrap up here. In the next video, I want to go into the deeper business questions. Yeah, we know we managed to get a lot of high level insights. We know that a particular location is influencing profit margin to increase. We know that the freight cost is influencing profit margins. Yeah, we know all this information, but now I want to know the real business questions. Like, why? Why is this particular seller states, influencing profit margin to increase? I want to drill down much more deeper. Now, also want to introduce you guys to the segment section, which also shows you like a lot of like a gold mine for insights. But I don't really have time to go through that in this video. Probably in the next video. So I think I'm just gonna go ahead and wrap up here. The next video, we're gonna go through the real business questions, and we're probably going to manage to like come up with some recommendations on why. I'm going to try to come up with some recommendations. So I hope this video was helpful, and yeah, thanks for watching.